of the night.
Another one.
What are some good projects to build / perform for my resume? All right, so let's see what this question is all about. So can you tell me good projects to build / perform to put on my resume? I am a fresher. So what is a fresher? So I've learned that a lot of people in India use the term fresher. It pretty much means they're a newbie, they're a noob in the QA game or whatever, whether they're a noob in whatever they're getting into, right? So they're a fresher, okay? So I just completed a course in testing. All right, shout out to you. We learned a lot of things starting from manual testing to mobile testing and API testing using Postman. My main interests are manual and automation testing using both Selenium WebDriver with Java and Appium for Android testing, and maybe API testing with Postman. Is there anyone here who does it? I do it. If yes, can you tell me a good project idea that I can do by myself that'll help me solidify the concepts that I learned and look impressive in the interview? What did you make to capture your interviewer's attention? Okay. That is a great question. So let's get to it. Let me start a timer on that one. All right, so I start with the last thing. What did you make to capture your interviewer's attention? So when I made this, I was not a fresher, but I'll share this anyways with you. I was working at a company where we had a large suite for API test, and it was one of the issues is test data in QA, and I used to do it like what we call a data provider in TestNG, which is the testing framework for Java. And I would use an Excel spreadsheet that was part of the project to be able to load the data. But every time you wanted to add new data, you wanted to change data, whatever, you would have to commit that Excel file to the project, and from there. So what I ended up doing was I integrated with Google's API to connect to a Google Sheet, and then I used the Google Sheet as a data provider. So all the data was hosted externally on a Google Sheet, and it would read from that. So all I needed was the credentials from Google to be able to read the sheet. And then I was putting in all the data, so I can always add new lines of data. I can remove lines. I can modify the existing data, and I wouldn't have to go and update the project every time I had to do that. So that right there. So when I was in my interview, and I shared that I did that, it was like, oh wow, I never heard of that. I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, yeah, it's possible, and then we spoke about that. So that was something that I did to capture the interviewer's attention. Now, what can you do? What can you do so that you can try to capture the attention? Well, see, that's the thing. As a fresher, it's hard to, because like you'd have to do something that is going to make somebody say wow, and part of the issue is that you do not have because what anybody can do is they can just go to Amazon, or like we've done it on this channel before last year, adding a product to the cart for Amazon or DoorDash or Uber Eats, or I think Uber Eats was one of the first ones that we did. But I mean, that's just writing basic automation. What I would say that you could do, right? Because you said that you're interested in Appium, because if you can do Appium, you can definitely do Selenium WebDriver. What my suggestion would be is go sign up for AWS for an AWS account, right? And automate using Appium, going to and connecting to a device in like an actual mobile device, and automating through there, right? And so now you're practicing mobile automation. You're practicing work using the AWS cloud. You're practicing using real devices. You're automating going through a real website or even an application. Maybe you can even install some basic application on a AWS Device Farm, right? Device, and then you automate that. I think if you were to do that, that would be a little bit of an eye opener. Like, oh wow, that's pretty impressive that you as a fresher, like being able to go and do that type of work through Appium. And here's the thing: when you are in the interview, you have and you're describing what you did. You're using terms like AWS. You're using terms like Device Farm. You're using terms like Appium. All of those things, and then and you're explaining what you did, why you did it. And that is what is going to be the eye opener. They're like, oh wow, like okay, this like, because a lot of times, especially as a fresher, as a noob, you don't really have too much to offer. But what they're looking for is what is this person's work ethic like? Do they have potential? What can we do, right? And are they willing to learn? So that's the key to being able to wow them, because you don't have the experience, but you can have the mindset and the heart. So and if you're using Appium for Android testing or for iOS testing, it's going to work. It's going to work on the device farm. You're going to be using Java most likely. You could use Python as well, but you're going to be using Java if you're already learning Java. For API testing, I mean, you can create some API. I mean, API testing is not like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. API testing was impressive. Now no one cares, right? API, like knowing how to test and use APIs, that's standard. I remember like when I was looking for a job like 12 years ago, and everything was about, do you know API testing? Do you know API testing? Do you know API testing? Now it's like they don't even ask. Like it is an expectation that you know API testing. But if you can do some automation with Appium, connecting to AWS and connecting to their devices over there, knowing how to connect to the region, creating your key, and we have done it on this channel before. Last year we did it on this channel, so you definitely want to check that out. All right, let's wrap that question up.
People walk in like a fleeting breeze. People go like a summer breeze, whisper through my life, then vanish with ease. I ain't stuck replaying those fading tracks. Eyes on the road, no looking back. I don't care too much about who stays or leaves. Life's a wave I ride, no room for grief. What's ahead is gold, what's gone is dust. Never lean too hard, never break that trust.
They say you need roots, but I'm chasing skies. I'll plant my feet when the moment's right. I'm a rolling stone, not a chain to bind. Freedom in my veins is the state of mind.
They come with words like they mean forever, but forever's just a fleeting endeavor. I won't lean on what I can't control. I'm whole on my own, I keep my soul. I don't care too much about who stays or leaves. Life's a wave I ride, no room for grief. What's ahead is gold, what's gone is dust. Never lean too hard, never break that trust.
Dependency's a prison I won't call home. No one knows my journey, I'm on my own. Forward is the anthem, the beat I drum. The past is a shadow, the future's the sun.
I've seen faces fade like mist at dawn. Memories linger, but the moment's gone. I'm not bitter, just wiser with time. Each goodbye's a lesson that sharpens my mind.
Waves will crash and tides will shift. I'm the captain steering through the rift. No anchors here, I sail to the new. The horizon's bright with a better view.
I don't care too much about who stays or leaves. Life's a wave I ride, no room for grief. What's ahead is gold, what's gone is dust. Never lean too hard, never break that trust.
The ones who stay are the real foundation. Others just lessons in life's rotation. I'm not bitter, I just understand. The future's my treasure, it's in my hands.